Oh, this is horrible. This is really horrible. Hello everybody. Well, I've got a fun little job to do today. Did I say fun? I meant absolutely horrible. So I need to change the coolant on my Jaguar XJS V12. I have a Excel sheet that I track the servicing with, and it's been, I think, 2 years now since I last changed it, so it's due really. And yeah, this is not a fun job. So here's the basic plan. Remove this cap here, remove this cap here to allow air to go into the system. Then you jack the car up, you place a bucket underneath as best you can. You disconnect that radiator hose clip just there on that large lower hose, which is that one there. This hose goes from the bottom of the radiator there, over this way and into the bottom of the water pump in there. So you disconnect that hose, you pull that off, the coolant thunders out, goes absolutely everywhere, all over the floor, and creates a huge mess. Then you reconnect it, fill the thing with coolant, bleed it, usual thing. So a warning to those who've never attempted this before, it's not a nice job. There's no drain point on these like a normal car. You just have to remove that very large hose down there and the water comes out and goes everywhere. It's no bad thing for the engine really. That torrent of fluid, you know, pulls all the crud with it, which is a good thing, I guess. There is an alternative method that I'm not doing today, and that's to use one of those cheap oil extraction pumps you can get from Aldi and places and eBay. Put the hose in here, or in the fitting that side, once you've removed it, and then push the pipe all the way down to the bottom of the radiator and kind of extract the coolant that way. I'm not doing that because I would quite like to, you know, properly have it thunder out and clear all any bits out of the system if there are any. I've not got any symptoms that there are, but it's been 2 years, so I'd like to do it the faster way today. So let's get it jacked up and get it draining. Just remove both the caps. I heard a bit of gurgling from this one, so let's take a look. It's not looking great in there actually. Can't tell if that's rust or... It is looking a bit rusty, yeah. Let's go look at the other side. Let's look in the expansion tank. Ah, so this level's got higher, so that's why that one's looking low. Yeah. Okay, right, let's drain it out anyway and see what it looks like. Right, here's the setup. Bucket under there. Plastic sheeting all around it with a towel behind, hopefully that acts as a sort of little dam, and then yeah, hopefully that will catch everything and it will run this way if there's any extra comes out. I think it's coming off. Oh, slowly. Ow. Ow. Right, here it comes. I think it's about to come off. Right, ready, and... Oh, what's it doing? Oh. Oh, this is horrible. Oh, this is really horrible. Right, it's draining. Brilliant. Oh. Right, well, it's draining as you can see. I'm going to lower the car down now just to kind of angle the engine like this to get a bit more out. The colour's interesting. When that went in, that was blue. I think what's happened is, in the distant past, someone mixed antifreeze in this car, because I did find when I replaced the water pump, I had quite a lot of this coloured deposits, this kind of reddy orangey colour, kind of crystalline deposits. I think what's happened is they've effectively redissolved into the coolant, because you can see that's nice and clear. But we'll get a sample in a sec and we'll do a check. But oh, that's a horrible job. It's such a horrible job. That bucket's going to get full. I better get another bucket. I better get another bucket. So this is what the coolant looked like when it went in 2 years ago, and this is what it looks like now. Now, I know what you're thinking. Oh my god, what has happened? What disastrous things have befallen your engine? I actually think this is explainable. So yeah, like I said earlier in the video, I think when I replaced the water pump, whenever it was, 7 years ago, in the passageways that kind of go into the block from the pump, there was this gelatin-like substance that was kind of on the walls of the passageway. It wasn't blocked completely, but it was clearly kind of throughout the engine, and it was this colour. And I think what it is in the distant past somebody mixed a modern type of antifreeze with an old type, and it kind of resulted in this gelatin-like substance. So I did clean a lot of it out, and I cleaned out the radiator, you know, flushed the heater core, the usual stuff. But I think this is kind of the remnants of it in the system kind of dissolving into this. I mean, this is quite a pale blue anyway. It might not come across on the video, so it probably does discolour with age anyway. But yeah, I think it's gone this colour because those orangey gelatin deposits have dissolved with kind of heat cycles as I've been using the car. So it looks pretty clear otherwise, and it's not rust. I'm fairly convinced of that. So I'm not too concerned. I'm just going to kind of keep an eye on it. In theory, if I keep changing this, maybe say every year, it should eventually dissolve and kind of flush out all of this stuff. But no overheating problems, nothing else of concern, so I'm not too worried. But yeah, it's a dramatic visual image, isn't it? Just siphoning out the remains of the expansion tank. Looks like that's it. I'm just checking to see if there's any coolant in the overflow bottle, which is where this hose goes, in the inner wing there. I can't really bother to take everything off. So, disconnect it from the tank here. I've put this piece of hose on the end. I'm just going to gently blow on it and listen for bubbles, and then that'll let me know if the end of the hose is actually in coolant or if it's just kind of in free air. Yep, can't hear any bubbles, so I think that tank is basically empty. It had some time to settle, so I poured the coolant from this bucket into that one, and we're just taking a look in the bottom for sediment or anything that came out. What have we got here? Yeah, that's just a stone. So all good. You'd be looking for kind of rust flakes and things, bits of gasket, that sort of thing. But yeah, this looks really clean, really good. Right, here's where we are. It's the mess, not too bad actually ultimately. So I've got the bottom hose there on and done up. I'm just going to go underneath to check the alignment of that big hose and check it's not rubbing on anything. And yeah, other than that, we are on to putting the airbox back together. I had to remove it so I could get access. And we're on to refilling. So this is the coolant I use, Fouche Fricofin ESK. It's a blue colour, mixed 50-50 with distilled water. I use this because it's, well, first of all from a good well-known brand, and also I seem to remember on the data sheet it's compatible with a wide variety of metals, you know, brass, aluminium, iron, etc., which is what you want for the Jaguar V12 because there is a lot of dissimilar metals in the system. So to prevent corrosion, I use this. So mixing it 50-50 in this older bottle. Right, over to the car. Right, I've completed the first cold fill, so not started the engine yet. So you can see we have coolant in the neck in the centre there. The coolant automatically came through the system and came up to the level of the neck there. And on my car, you won't have this, but I've got this T-piece in the heater line. It's sort of like an air bleed valve, so I've been kind of opening that and just letting a bit of air out. Eventually you should have coolant coming out of there. So that took 12, 13, 15, about 16 litres, I think that was. Yeah, 16 litres of cold fill. And if I squeeze the hose here, I can hear the thermostat jiggle pins. So the system is full of coolant. What I'm going to do now is put the caps back on, make sure everything's tight, start it up, run it up to temperature, put the cabin heat on, probably, well, not run it up to temperature, but I'll just run it for a little bit, then switch it off, let it cool down a bit, check the pressure in the hoses, take these off, refill, and yeah, rinse and repeat. I've just topped off the centre, so I've put the cap on that side, and I've just topped this off right to the brim with fresh coolant. So that's our starting bleed procedure, if you like, with the system totally topped up. I've just been squeezing this top radiator hose like that, and we've manually burped a little bit out. So this is me squeezing the hose. I can hear that there's air in the top of the radiator, so that will bleed automatically through the automatic bleed feature into the tank over there. But yeah, this is all just about really taking your time. You know, you can see there's, I think we're getting air bubbles out when we squeeze the radiator hose here. But yeah, it's about taking your time, you know, doing things thoroughly. You know, don't rush it. And doing this now, you know, pays dividends, because you can have confidence that when you do put some heat in the engine, there's going to be very little, if any, air pockets anywhere. I've just given some of the hoses on the left hand side of the engine a squeeze, this top one and the one down there, just again to get as many air bubbles out as I can. I'm just going to reach down to the bottom hose, let's give that a squeeze. So yeah, maybe this comes from experience, but I can kind of tell, you know, you can immediately tell that the system is, you know, nicely full of water. And I can hear the jiggle pin on this side as well. So I think we're ready for a run up. I've just disconnected this as well, and I did have fluid dripping out the back there, so I think it's time to warm up. Okay, it's running now. So the feel of the hoses. Oh yeah, right, so they are feeling nice. They're getting firmer, so that's good. The system's pressurising. We'll leave it running for a little bit longer, get some heat in it, and then we'll let it cool down and top the levels off. Quick check underneath for leaks. Here, you can go see, I don't even want to crawl under. Hopefully that all looks good. We can lower it down now. So the cross bleed pipe, just having a feel of it, and yeah, that's getting hot. It says coolant flowing through there. That's getting a bit warm. The crossover pipe is getting hot. And finally, this is the heater pipe. This silver one just here, and yeah, that's getting hot as well. So that's good. We've got hot coolant flowing through all the kind of the key areas. Now it's cooled down a bit, but there is still a little bit of pressure in the system. Just to help the bleed process along on its way, what I'm going to do is loosen this nut here. This is the bleed point on top of the radiator, and we should get a slow pressurized release of air, which has kind of risen to the top of the system and is now sitting on the top of the radiator, followed by coolant. So I'm going to do that just to help the bleed process along. Right, so I've got myself a top-up bottle of fresh coolant, which I shall keep in the car for the next few journeys. And yes, it's mainly just be about giving these hoses a squeeze, check that they kind of firm up. You can see they're quite squishy, and you can kind of hear sloshing coolant around, I think, at the top of the radiator. So that's the air we basically want to bleed out. So keep giving those a squeeze. I'm going to monitor for coolant when it's warm in this little pipe here, which will mean this tank is full to the brim with coolant and it's expanding in here correctly. And I think that about does it. So thank you for watching. I hope that helps, and I hope that maybe gives you a bit more confidence to tackle what I'm afraid is quite a horrible job on this car, but still quite satisfying to do, and very important job to do. You know, keep nice clean coolant so you don't get corrosion around those precious cylinder head gaskets. Cheerio. Right, looking pretty good. I've went up to temperature now. You can see how much more solid the hoses are. I have fluid in my sight glass just here, coming out of here. Radiator's hot, everything's hot. So I think what I'll do is I'll let it cool, then I'll just do a final bleed out of here, and I think we're done. But yeah, those hoses are very firm, so that's really good.